Why their wins always leave me empty. See how your mind races when you scroll. Someone's vacation, another's perfect selfie, an old friend's promotion. Your chest tightens, hope slips away. You try harder, but it's never enough. Why does every win for them feel like a loss for you? What's really hiding behind those happy posts and success stories? How much damage does comparing yourself do each day? And how can you finally break free? Let's dig into the hidden trap you can't stop falling for. So let's really break down why we end up in this never-ending cycle of comparing ourselves to others. Most people don't even realize where it all starts. But once you peel back the layers, there's a map to follow. Think back to when you were just a kid. Way before you ever cared about TikTok likes or grades or how many vacation photos you could brag about. You were already learning from the world around you. Maybe your parents never said anything directly, but you caught those quick looks when your cousin got a better report card. Or at school, you noticed who was always picked first for sports, who got to be line leader, who the teachers seemed to smile at just a little more. It didn't take long to figure out there was an invisible scoreboard everywhere you went. Some kids took every gold star as proof they were better. Others quietly wondered if they'd ever measure up. This is where social comparison theory fits in, something psychologists talk about a lot. It's basically the idea that we use other people as benchmarks to see how we're doing. Our brains love reference points. If you've ever thought, well, at least I did better than him, or why can't I just be like her? That's your mind hunting for evidence. You're wired to make sense of yourself in a group, and sometimes that means checking your worth against people nearby. Now, mix in the wild world of social media. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat are designed to amplify this hardwired habit. Suddenly, you're seeing someone's fancy vacation right before bed, or scrolling past a feed full of gym selfies first thing in the morning. But here's what no one ever tells you. What you see is never the whole story. People pick and polish their happiest, shiniest moments. They hide the mess, the arguments, the tears, and all the stuff they don't want anyone else to see. So, you start comparing your behind-the-scenes life to everyone else's highlight reel. It's like comparing your real face in the mirror to a perfect photoshopped magazine cover every single day. No wonder you feel like you're not enough. And it's not just your friends or people you know in real life. Culture blasts images and stories of what's normal or successful from every angle. Ads show airbrushed models with flawless skin. Actors in movies always have unbelievable homes. Songs on the radio talk about getting rich or finding love in big, splashy ways. Even if you try to tune it out, you're still soaking it all in. Society plants invisible rules in your mind. Maybe you should have reached a certain goal by this age, or look a certain way, or feel a certain happiness. But who made those rules anyway? Think about holidays when families gather. How often does an aunt or uncle ask, "So, when are you getting promoted?" Or "How's your love life?" It's all a subtle nudge to line up your life alongside someone else's timeline. Even the way we talk about school or work can push us into the comparison trap. If your best friend finishes college before you or a coworker buys a new car, it suddenly becomes a quiet competition you didn't even sign up for. All of that builds up over time, until it feels totally normal to check someone else's achievements against your own. But every time you compare, your self-esteem takes a tiny hit. It doesn't happen overnight, but after a while it starts to weigh you down. You might find yourself doubting your choices, feeling awkward in your own body, or even holding back on trying something new because you're scared you'll never be as good as them. Let's pause and look at an example. Meet Alex. She's in high school, pretty smart, good at drawing, but she's always quietly measuring her grades and art projects against her best friend Chloe. Chloe just has a way of making things look easy, and she always seems to win first place in art contests. Every time Alex does well, she still doesn't feel happy, because in her mind, it's not as good as Chloe's win. The more she scrolls through Chloe's Instagram, packed with likes and praise, the more invisible she feels. It's not just grades or art, it seeps into everything: how she dresses, who she hangs out with, even how she talks. You can almost picture how Alex feels in those moments. She sits at her desk late at night, looking at her latest drawing, fingers tracing the pencil lines, listening to the echo of her own doubts in the quiet room. Her phone screen lights up with a new post from Chloe, and there it is, a perfectly shaded portrait, hundreds of likes within minutes. Alex's heart sinks just that little bit more, and even the pride she felt a second ago shrinks away. Now, Alex's story might sound familiar, but think about Ethan. He works a 9-to-5 job and feels pretty good most days. But one afternoon, he scrolls through LinkedIn and sees a former classmate announce their dream job at a huge tech company. Suddenly, the coffee on Ethan's desk tastes sour. His own title, which felt fine 5 minutes ago, now looks small and unimpressive. That one post, one tiny window into someone else's life, has the power to flip his whole mood. It's wild how quick these feelings set in. Ethan tries to brush it off, maybe even laughs about it with a coworker. Guess I'm not crushing it after all, huh? But deep down, the comparison sticks. The glow from his own recent work win fades, replaced with that nagging feeling of falling behind. So, why does this happen? Part of it is just the way our brains are built. We're social creatures, wired to look for cues about what's valued or accepted. But a lot of it comes from habits we never question. You see enough success stories online, and your own journey can start to feel like a back alley when you wanted a fancy street. Here's the big problem. All of this is invisible. Most people never realize the roots are buried deep. Even if you delete an app off your phone, those old beliefs and habits don't just vanish. They're like roots growing underneath the surface, popping up when you least expect it. But noticing is the first step. Psychologists suggest lots of ways to spot comparison as soon as it starts sneaking in. One trick is to ask yourself, would I feel bad about this if I hadn't seen it? Or try pausing the next time you feel jealous or anxious after scrolling online. Can you remember where that feeling started? Usually, it's a spark, someone's win, a photo, a comment, that pulls you right back into the trap. Another strategy: keep a tiny notebook or use your phone notes to mark quick entries. Every time you catch yourself making a comparison, jot down what triggered it and how it made you feel. Over a week or two, you'll start spotting patterns you never noticed before. Maybe it's a certain account, or a specific time of day, or a topic that leaves you feeling small. So what do you do with this info? First, remind yourself that every comparison story is incomplete. No one lives the perfect life their photos suggest. Second, you can interrupt the spiral. Some people wear a rubber band on their wrist and snap it, just to break the thought loop. Others try saying, out loud or quietly, their story isn't my story. It sounds simple, but having a phrase that brings you back to your own lane can make a huge difference. And it isn't just about stopping negative thoughts. It's about building up the positives too. That means celebrating what makes you, even if it's not as shiny or successful as what you see online. Maybe it's your kindness, your sense of humor, the silly drawing on your fridge, or how you always remember your friends' birthdays. Those are the moments and traits that set you apart, even if they don't rack up likes online. The path out of the comparison trap always starts with noticing when you're in it. The question is, why? And even bigger, what could your life look like if you started measuring yourself by your own standards, not everyone else's? Next up, let's dig into practical ways you can flip the script, day by day. Let's look at the moment where things shift. For a lot of people, there's one specific second, like a crack in a wall, when you realize, wait, living this way feels like running on a treadmill that never stops. If you've ever felt that, you're not alone. This turning point creeps up, sometimes big and dramatic, sometimes just a quiet, gentle nudge in your gut that says, something has to change. Picture this. You're at home, scrolling through your phone after a long day. You're tired, just looking for something to distract you. Then you stumble on a friend's photo, the one with all the likes, big smiles, new outfit, and perfect lighting. You keep staring even as your stomach knots up. Suddenly, something inside you says, "Enough." You shut the screen off, toss your phone to the side, and just breathe. The room's quiet, but your mind is spinning. It's not only envy or frustration. It's a feeling like you've been missing your own life because you're too busy measuring it next to everyone else's. It's not just digital moments either. Maybe you're at school, listening as teachers praise your classmate once again. Or at work, when the boss congratulates a coworker in front of everyone while you feel invisible. These moments stick to you. There's this weight in your chest, a cold sweat in your palms. That not enough feeling can show up anywhere, even in the grocery store if you find yourself comparing carts and wallets. The spark to stop can hit at the strangest times. Sometimes this moment isn't about social media at all. Maybe it's sitting at a family dinner and hearing again about your cousin who already bought a house, or your sibling who's getting straight A's. You nod and smile, but inside it's like you're shrinking. And suddenly, you wonder, why do I care so much? Is this really the scoreboard I want for my life? Other times, the turning point is more like a buildup, where little things stack until one day, all at once, they spill over. Jen experienced that. For years, she compared her messy apartment to her friends' Pinterest-worthy places. She'd clean for hours before anyone visited. But after a tough week at work, she looked around at her clean, but still old and tiny apartment, and realized she was exhausted, not because her place was a mess, but because she'd been trying to meet an impossible standard. The need to compete just didn't feel worth it anymore. She flopped onto her couch, laughed at how hard she was trying, and finally let herself relax for once. That night, she picked sleep and self-kindness over comparison, and it felt awesome. It can feel like letting go of a life raft you've clung to in rough seas, even if that raft is just a pattern of thinking. I remember when my friend Marcus had his turning point. He was staring at his report card, comparing his grades to what his older brother got years before. He told me later it felt like my whole self-worth was hanging on those letters. But suddenly I just didn't want to care anymore. He felt shaken, almost angry, but at the same time a bit lighter too. So what do these moments have in common? Discomfort. There's always that wave of awkwardness, like letting go of a rope you didn't realize you'd been holding onto for years. It's kind of scary. You might even feel lost at first. What fills the space when you stop measuring every part of your life against someone else? Fear creeps in. Will you still feel motivated? Are you giving up on ambition? Or maybe you just feel empty, like something is missing. That emptiness is actually room to grow. At first, though, it can make you anxious. You might catch yourself reaching for your phone out of habit, itching to scroll. Or you'll hear that mental voice whisper again, "Shouldn't you be doing more?" But then, after a while, you start to fill that space with something new. Maybe it's gratitude, hobbies, or even a breath of relief you didn't know you needed. This super awkward in-between phase is what most people forget to talk about, but it's totally normal. Now think about this. Every change, even a good one, brings doubt. It's totally normal. When you choose to stop comparing, you'll probably feel a mix of relief and panic. On one side, you get this rush of hope. You can finally see your future as more than a scoreboard. On the other, you worry. Will you fall behind? Will anyone notice your success now that you're not chasing after what everyone else brags about? Anchoring your motivation is what keeps you steady through this storm. For a lot of people, journaling is a powerful tool. Try this. Write down, in real words, all the energy you've spent comparing. List how it made you feel. The times you lost sleep, the tiny joys you missed. Then, jot down what you'd rather fill your days with. Creativity, rest, true friendship, anything. Seeing it on paper can be a wake-up call. It's like proof you're not just making it up. Visual reminders also help. Stick a note on your bathroom mirror saying, "Today, I choose my own race." Set your phone wallpaper to something that reminds you of your goals. Paint a rock, hang a vision board, whatever speaks your language. The point is, giving your mind something else to focus on every day keeps you from drifting back into old habits. Some people need outside help. Talk to an accountability partner, a friend, family member, or even a coach. Tell them you're trying to quit the comparison game. Ask them to check in if you start spiraling. Set up little wins together. For example, agree that you'll text each other anytime you do something because you want to, not just to measure up. Celebrate those moments, even if they're tiny. And don't ignore the stakes. If you've ever felt like the walls were closing in, or that you were losing yourself to everyone else's expectations, you know what's at risk. Giving up comparison isn't just about being happier day to day. It's about taking control of your story. There's real relief in that. Suddenly, even small wins start to feel bigger. Fear fades a little each time you choose yourself. Let's circle back to Alex from before. When she finally saw how much comparing herself to Chloe was hurting her, she did something brave. She put away her phone for a week. The first 2 days were rough. She was convinced she was missing out, that everyone would forget about her. But by day 4, she started drawing for the fun of it, not to be better than Chloe, but just to make something she liked. That week, she actually felt lighter. For the first time, the voice in her head wasn't asking, "Is this better than hers?" It was just saying, "This feels good." And Ethan? He started putting his LinkedIn notifications on silent and made a rule: no checking work stuff after dinner. He wrote down a few work achievements every week, even if they seemed small. Before long, he realized his job wasn't a consolation prize. It was something he'd built, step by step. The sense of pride grew, and this time, it was his own, not borrowed from someone else. Here's the thing: the first steps hurt. You feel vulnerable, and sometimes a little foolish. But bit by bit, you get braver. You realize you've been living under someone else's scoreboard for too long, and now you get to set your own rules. What if you celebrated progress instead of perfection, or measured success by how fulfilled you felt, not just by checking off boxes you never made? And here's a fun fact. Scientists have studied how comparison triggers our brain's stress response. So if your heart races or your mood drops, you're not imagining it. It's chemistry. But the good news is, those stress signals quiet down as you practice choosing yourself over the noise. Each time you do, it's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the easier it gets to stay centered. Once you decide to stop comparing, the world opens up in strange ways. New stuff starts to matter. Enjoying your breakfast without worrying about what someone else is eating. Going for a walk just because you like the breeze. Or texting a friend just to say hi instead of to update them about your latest achievement. It's like shifting from black and white to full color. But that wasn't even the strangest part. Now let's talk about what actually happens when you leave comparison behind. These changes might sneak up on you, but when they arrive, it honestly feels just like opening a window in a stuffy room and letting that first fresh breeze flood in. First, a real honest boost in self-confidence. You notice it one morning, the way you stop picking apart your reflection in the mirror. Maybe you catch yourself smiling because you actually like the shirt you picked, regardless of what's trending right now. That's the first sign you're starting to value your unique strengths. Instead of seeing what you lack, you see what you have. For example, Maya, who always hated her bouncy, curly hair because straight hair seemed in, finally starts wearing it naturally. Not only does she save time every day, but people start to compliment her. At first it feels weird. Does she believe them? Not really, but slowly the compliments stick. Her confidence grows, each day a bit more. And it's not just Maya. Take Julian. For a long time, Julian refused to share his art with anyone because he thought, "It's not as polished as what I see online, so what's the point?" One evening, he decides to sketch what he really loves, funny cartoon dogs with wonky eyes, just to amuse himself. He shows a doodle to his younger sister. She bursts out laughing, says, "This looks exactly like our dog, Max. Can you draw another one?" Suddenly, Julian realizes his art doesn't have to impress the internet. It just has to make someone smile. That simple moment makes a difference. Second, your focus sharpens. When you're not wasting brain power sizing up your life against others, your goals become clearer. Maybe you used to wish you could run as far as that Instagram runner with the perfect watch and clothes. By breaking the comparison lens, you might set your own weekly goal. Run 3 times this week, even if it's just around the neighborhood. You run for you, not for the likes. Guess what? You're more likely to stick to it, and progress feels satisfying because it's yours. You might track your time or distance, see a real improvement, and want to keep going, not because you're beating someone, but because you're cheering yourself on. Here's another example. Liz was always frustrated watching her classmates ace math tests while she struggled. She spent so much time worrying she'd never catch up. But after deciding to compare herself only to her past self, Liz started tracking even tiny gains, a few more correct answers, a problem solved without help. Every sticky note with a math win built her confidence. 6 months down the line, she didn't just pass math, she liked it. Third, emotional stability steps in. The less you compare, the less you ride the ups and downs of envy and insecurity. There's a steadiness. You walk into a party and feel happy to see your friends succeed, instead of feeling a hidden twinge of jealousy. Sam experienced this when his roommate landed a new job. At first, he felt the tiny sting. Should I be interviewing too? But then he remembered what he wanted for his own life. He congratulated his roommate sincerely and even celebrated with pizza. That night, Sam realized he actually felt proud, for his friend and for himself, because he was finally done with racing against everyone else. And it goes deeper. You might notice your whole body changing, your jaw unclenching, shoulders relaxing. The sick drop in your stomach, gone, replaced by a grounded sort of calm. Friends might even ask, "You seem lighter, happier. What's changed?" Fourth, relationships start to change. When comparison and jealousy fade, you can show up as your genuine self. Conversations become lighter, more fun, less tense. You can listen and laugh without always wondering if you're doing as well as the other person. Think about siblings. If competition used to rule your relationship, now you start to team up. Celebrate each other's wins, joke about your own quirks, and support each other's weird hobbies. It softens things, a kind of relief for everyone. A great story comes from Sarah and her best friend, who always kept score, taller, better grades, more followers. One day, after a tough conversation, they both admitted how much the comparing hurt. Instead of hiding their wins or failures, they started hyping each other up. Sarah says, "We became each other's cheerleaders instead of rivals, and honestly, my whole world got friendlier." Fifth, more motivation, more energy. When you're not shackled by feeling behind, your day opens up. You stop wasting energy on what-ifs and instead pour it into new hobbies or skills. That means more time for trying painting, learning guitar, or just relaxing with a good book. Jordan, who once compared his guitar skills to every YouTube prodigy, finally let go. He played just for fun and started enjoying music again. He practiced more often and felt excited, not pressured. His spark and his progress shot up. And don't forget the tiny stuff too. Even chores become easier when you're not measuring yourself against some perfect TikTok cleaning routine. You clean your room at your own pace, feel satisfied, and move on. It's so much less draining. How do you get there? It's about taking small, steady steps. Start by celebrating those wins. Put a sticky note on your fridge or mirror each time you accomplish a goal, big or small. See the little victories add up, visually. Or keep a journal, and on rough days, reread your proudest entries. Let the evidence of your growth inspire you. You can also shift your self-talk. Instead of saying, "Why can't I be like her?" try, "What's one thing I did today that made me proud?" Even tiny moments count, like helping a friend, acing a recipe, or sticking to a routine. Collect those moments. Each one stacks up, becoming the real foundation of lasting self-worth. Another huge change? You get braver about trying new things, because failure loses its sting. When you're not worried about matching someone else's so-called perfect performance, you can actually be a beginner. You sign up for that dance class, try cooking a new meal, or even ask someone out, without the pressure of public embarrassment looming. The worst that can happen? You learn, laugh, and try again. No scorekeeping, no shame. Picture what this feels like. Instead of ending the day replaying where you fell short, you replay the things you tried, the new things, the risks. You sleep better. You feel lighter, like walking out on a warm night with no backpack weighing you down. Even the fear of missing out starts disappearing. When comparison isn't steering your choices, you find the freedom to skip a party and binge your favorite show guilt-free, or plan cozy nights in with close friends instead of trying to impress strangers. Your circle gets smaller, but way more meaningful. You start gravitating towards people and activities that energize you, rather than drain you. All these shifts bring you back to yourself. It's honestly like stumbling across your favorite old song. It sparks excitement, eases anxiety, and for a moment everything just fits. Even quiet progress counts. You notice when you're about to compare and whoa, this time, you don't. You feel comfortable not knowing what everyone is doing. You let go of those old stories that never really suited you. That's real freedom. You get to write your own story, full of surprising twists and unique wins. But here's the really cool part. These positive changes aren't a finish line. They're a launch pad. So, what does it look like to keep this positive momentum going, day after day? There's a toolkit of simple habits to help you hold on to your new confidence. Are you ready to see what comes next? Now let's get practical. Changing your mindset starts with tiny, everyday habits. The more you practice, the easier it gets to stick to your own path, even when the world tries to pull you back. First thing each morning, before you reach for your phone, pause and just breathe. Notice how your body feels. Maybe your bed is soft, the sun peeks through your window, or you hear birds outside. This moment of mindfulness is more important than it seems. Why? Because if you ground yourself before getting lost in notifications, you claim the day as yours. For example, Sophia keeps her phone on airplane mode overnight. She listens for 3 sounds: her breath, the hum of her ceiling fan, and cars outside. Only then does she get up. She says it gives her brain just enough peace to remember what she wants, not what the internet wants for her, and it really works. Sophia says, "If I open social media first, my moods ride the roller coaster. But when I listen to my world for just a minute, I feel calm starting my day my way." Imagine that feeling, the light coming in gentle through your curtains, your favorite cozy blanket, a sense of possibility before the world shouts at you. Set achievable, personal goals, ones that get you excited. Write down one small goal for the week. Make it something that truly matters to you. Don't pick a target just because you saw someone else do it online. For instance, if your feed is full of marathon runners but you love walking with your dog, set a goal to try a new park together. Or maybe draw for 20 minutes, or cook one homemade meal. The goal is to make sure it's your journey, not theirs. Jenny did this for months. Instead of chasing flashy fitness challenges, she trained to hike a local trail, just for herself. The progress felt real, and the pride, even better. Jenny shared, "I used to think my goals were too small. But each hike felt like my own adventure, no audience needed. Let's dig deeper here. Sometimes you might feel stuck setting goals, not knowing what really matters to you. If that happens, try writing a list of things that make you smile or give you energy. Maybe it's finishing a puzzle, baking cookies, or just calling a friend. Those are valid goals too. Little wins pile up. Imagine having a jar on your desk. Each time you complete one of these personal little goals, write it on a scrap of paper and drop it in. When you're doubting yourself, pull out a handful. Instantly, you've got proof that you're moving forward on your own terms. Now let's talk about your feed. Curate it. Seriously. Unfollow accounts that leave you feeling less than, rushed, or jealous. No apology needed. Fill your feed with content that makes you feel good, inspired, or learn something new. That might mean following nature accounts, DIY creators, or funny animal pages. Every time you pick what you see, you're choosing what mood you invite into your life. Mike, a college student, started this as a mini experiment. Whenever he finished scrolling, he asked, "Do I feel better or worse?" If it was worse, he unfollowed or muted the trigger. In 2 weeks, his mood lifted noticeably after scrolling, and comparison cravings dropped away. Let me add another story here. Mia realized that watching beauty influencers every morning made her feel anxious about her appearance. All I saw were perfect faces. I woke up feeling okay, but by breakfast I'd start picking myself apart, she said. So, she swapped those accounts for art tutorials and rescue puppies. Within a month, Mia found herself more eager to try new hobbies than criticize her mirror reflection. Your digital space should make you feel lighter, not weighed down. Gratitude is your secret weapon. Keep a gratitude journal somewhere you'll see it. Your nightstand, the bathroom, even a note app. Every night, write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself. And yes, they can be small or even silly. I remembered to water my plant. I smiled at a stranger. I wore my favorite socks. It sounds easy, but over time, flipping your focus this way helps you train your brain to spot good in yourself first. Emily started this habit after feeling burned out at work. At first, it felt fake, but by the second week, she looked forward to adding something new every night. Her mood changed, and so did the way she saw herself. Picture how this looks: Emily sitting cross-legged in bed, fairy lights twinkling above, jotting down her 3 moments. She reads back over her week's entries every Saturday morning. Some are short, some are silly, some almost make her cry. It's a highlight reel that's real. She says, "It doesn't just show the best versions of me, it shows the honest ones. I'm grateful for my mistakes too. Celebrate every win, big or small. Make it visible." Use a wall chart, draw stars, or fill a jar with marbles for every goal you reach. These trackers don't just show progress, they remind you, every day, that you're moving. Sam's wall was covered in colorful sticky notes. Every time he read a new book, cooked a homemade meal, or called a relative, another note went up. On tough days, he'd scan the wall and remember, I am growing, even when it's slow. Think about how motivating this can be. On tough mornings, when self-doubt creeps in, you see that line of sticky notes or that jar filling up, and you realize you're collecting your own victories, no matter how small they seem. These visible reminders keep you from sliding back into the comparison trap because they're your proof of progress, not anyone else's. Community helps too. Surround yourself with people who are rooting for your success, not just competing with you. Have regular check-ins with a friend or join groups based on hobbies you love. Claudia joined a gardening club to meet people who'd celebrate her progress, not her status. Those connections helped her see herself with kinder eyes. Claudia reflected. We took turns sharing our tiniest garden successes. No judgment, just encouragement. That support was everything. If comparison tries to sneak back, talk about it openly. Share your struggles with trusted friends or mentors. Sometimes just saying I'm feeling a little jealous today takes away comparison's power. You'll be surprised how many people feel exactly the same, even if their social media accounts look perfect. Vulnerability becomes your shield, not your weakness. Jason once thought he was the only one feeling behind in his career until he opened up to his coworker. Turns out she'd been battling the same thoughts. That honest talk helped them both let go of the pressure. Practice digital detox, maybe a whole weekend, or even a single hour a day with your phone out of reach. Use that break to check in with yourself. What do you actually want and need? Are you enjoying what's in front of you? Lisa did phone-free Sundays. She said at first the silence was hard, but soon her mind quieted, and she enjoyed family time without feeling the pull to check everyone else's highlight reel. She remembers, the house felt quieter, but so did my brain. I was finally present. Remember, none of this is about being perfect. Some days comparison will crash through anyway. When it does, be gentle. Notice it, name it, and redirect your focus. A simple mantra helps. I'm on my own journey. You can even post this in your room or use it as your lock screen. The more you remind yourself, the stronger it sticks. Over time, the more you fill your days with your own goals, gratitude, real connection, and visible signs of progress, the less space comparison has to grow. It's a practice, not a one-time fix. And as this practice becomes part of your daily routine, you start to crave your own wins, your own experiences, and your own sense of joy far more than the empty thrill of one-upping someone else. So what happens when you fully embrace this new way of living? Well, that's where the real magic begins. Ready to see how everything changes next? Stepping into your own path, it's one of the best gifts you'll ever give yourself. You wake up in the morning and the first feeling isn't dread or that ache of not enough. Instead, it's something like peace, or even excitement for an ordinary little day that doesn't have to match anything but your own version of happy. That's the first real benefit of owning your unique journey. It's freedom from the silent battle inside your head. Second, you get a boost of confidence that doesn't waver every time someone else posts a new highlight. You trust yourself more. You accept your weird quirks, the things you love, and the path you're walking, even if it zigzags or moves slow. No achievement by someone else shakes that feeling. It's yours, locked in for good. And third, life starts to feel like it's yours again. You make choices that light you up inside instead of just following trends or living by default. When friends ask what you're working on, you talk about your small wins instead of only listing impressive stuff. You enjoy hobbies, downtime, and even setbacks in their own time, at your own pace. Success finally means something personal, not just public. But here's the thing, growth is never a straight line. You'll have days where an old comparison creeps in. Maybe your friend lands a new job, or your neighbor's garden just looks better. That's okay. When those moments come, remember how you felt before, trapped and exhausted, and how much lighter you feel now. It's proof of your progress. Let me tell you about Jamie, a viewer who wrote in last week. Jamie said, I used to think if I wasn't as fast or successful as my classmates, I was failing. But the second I started celebrating my own tiny steps, like finally asking a question in class or learning to bake bread, all that pressure shrunk. It was like I could breathe again. Think about that. One small action. And suddenly life opens up a little more. Or maybe you see yourself in Alex, who always compared their art to what they saw online. The breakthrough? Realizing that their style didn't have to match anyone else's, that it was supposed to be different. Alex wrote, Now, even on the messy days, I keep creating. I'm not waiting for likes, just enjoying actually making something. Can you relate to that quiet shift? The way it feels to reclaim something that's yours? Take a minute to think back. Can you spot moments in your own life where comparison held you back or made joy disappear? Maybe you missed out because you were too busy measuring yourself or felt embarrassed to try something new. What would you change if you could go back? Now see how far you've come, even if the steps were small or messy. Share your experiences below. Leave a comment about the biggest comparison trap you escaped, or the tiniest change that made your days brighter. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Plus, you never know who's cheering you on or feels exactly the same. We're all climbing our own hills, after all. Remember, self-discovery is never finished. Every season brings new lessons, and every setback teaches you something about resilience and joy. Maybe next time you're tempted to compare, you'll remember you're allowed to write new rules, start fresh, and celebrate your kind of progress. Every day. So if you're feeling stuck or a little uncertain right now, that's okay. Look out your window, pick up something familiar, a mug, a book, even your favorite snack, and notice how unique that tiny moment is to you. That's proof that you're already living in your one and only story, even when things feel slow or confusing. Don't rush it. Sometimes the best part of the journey is catching your breath and looking around. Here's what's coming next. Together, we'll tackle all sorts of obstacles, burnout, anxiety, tough relationships, and moments when motivation vanishes. If you're ready to keep stretching and growing, be sure to stick around, because we'll face those challenges as a team, every step of the way. So, and this is the thought to carry with you, when you look back on your story a week, a year, or even a decade from now, will you remember someone else's highlight reel or your own best moments? Maybe what matters most isn't how you measured up, but how real and joyful your journey felt along the way. And that's what really lasts.